Welcome to the Story Fulfilled podcast, where we deep dive into how each character and story in the Bible come together to fulfill the story of God. I'm Jay.
I'm Fletcher.
And I'm Abby.
And today's story is about Balaam.
And his pet donkey.
Well, it wasn't really a pet, but
yeah. His donkey. You
His
don't really
donkey.
you usually need to describe what an animal is to somebody. It's like it's their
Right.
donkey. Yeah, okay. Not his pet.
yeah. Should we read today from the King James?
Yes.
Just to make people uncomfortable with
All
the
right.
You
language.
know what? I actually had someone come up to me at work today and say, I want to read the whole Bible in the King James Version, but he's like, I want to listen to it on the audiobook specifically because I
Okay.
want to hear all the these and thous. I'm like, okay then, have fun with that.
Yeah.
You do that.
He wants to not understand the Bible.
Yeah.
That's what
Your thing.
that's what I would do if I was reading.
But the King James is the version that Jesus read. All right, we have a question.
Should we clarify? No, it was a joke. It's okay.
Yes.
They understand.
Yeah, we do have a question because Balaam interacts with his donkey verbally. Which talking animal would you want as a friend? So throughout, literature and movies, whatever, there are talking animals.
TV shows.
Yeah.
Books.
Which one would you want as a friend?
Throughout fiction, because I'm assuming reality doesn't have many.
Many.
Well, there's at least one.
There's at least one here. Yeah. All right. I think Abby's going to go first with her answer. She was very excited.
She
about
was.
this
She
one.
said she had it. She
I
looked
did.
and yep.
Honestly, Jay guessed it, but I'm not going to change it because I really like it.
There it
And
is.
I'm going with Aslan
Yeah.
from Narnia.
I actually,
Aslan.
when I was thinking about it, I wondered, like, is this one of those ones where we make a rule where it can't be Aslan? Because Aslan's
It's like
Jesus.
saying Jesus. Yeah, we've already
It's
made a
the
rule
Jesus
about saying
answer.
Jesus, and Aslan is Narnia equivalent.
I really want him to be my friend, though.
That's true.
You guys don't have to feel bad if you don't say Aslan, though. I feel like if you,
Right.
yeah, there's other ones that you don't feel bad if you say it, but because he's not actually Jesus. 'Cause
That's true.
It's an
That's true.
analogy.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yes, Aslan would be an amazing,
friend.
and he is my friend if we take the analogy to its extent. So I'm
Jay,
glad.
he
glad
lives
to
in
have him.
Narnia.
And
Yeah, but if you read The Silver Chair, he also appears in the real world.
There we
so-
go.
Yes.
Here we go. All right, do you have yours?
No,
Fletcher?
go ahead, Jay.
Oh, okay.
I'm still debating.
I was tossing up, and I still maybe am a little bit. Okay, I kind of have two. They're
Okay.
both ridiculous because you said TV, and I wasn't even thinking of TV, and I'm like Alf.
What kind of
Alf.
animal is
Well, he's actually an alien, I guess,
Oh, okay.
really, but he's an animal. He's
Fair
some
enough.
kind of an animal. He eats cats.
It's an
Is
old
he the-
old
yeah,
person
he's
thing,
the
Abby.
one
If
that
you
It's
don't
an
know
old
what
person
Alf
thing,
is.
yeah.
No. He's the one
Hey,
that
Lucky!
he's the one that he comes to Earth and there's like a yellow light and he speeds up when the yellow light happens because he's trying to like learn from humans. Am I thinking of a different show?
I don't remember him speeding up or anything.
Okay.
He
Was the
ends up
yellow light on
living
his
with-
finger?
He ends up living
No.
with a
That would be
family.
E.T.
He ends up living with a family, and he
he
eats
learns from
cats.
them.
He learns.
He's trying to learn to be like human, and so he's learning to drive one day.
Look,
And-
I'm going to pull up a picture of Alf, and
I don't
Abby
know.
is going to say,
No.
no, that's not him.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here
I
we go.
haven't
So I was
seen
actually
this.
just reminded of him because our family has started watching Young Sheldon, and Sheldon's sister writes letters to Alf, and then he gets one and he reads one, which is kind of funny because
Wow.
that's like a crossover of TV shows and
There you
all
go.
that stuff. The other talking animals is just as ridiculous and also probably shows my age. It's the cockroaches from Joe's apartment.
Why the heck? You have weird
Joe's
choices.
apartment?
Joe's apartment was an MTV movie way back in the day, and Joe moved to New York City and he had this apartment and it was disgusting, and the cockroaches loved his apartment because it was disgusting. But then he got a girlfriend, and
Did they talk?
They talk, they sing, they dance, it's all this
What
stuff.
the heck?
And then he gets a girlfriend, and so like they're threatened that he's going to clean up the place, and they don't want him to clean up the place, so they're trying to figure out a way to make
Break them
his.
up?
Was it a
yeah, to
movie
break-
or
it
a
was
TV show? A
It
movie.
was,
Interesting.
yeah, it was
That is
ridiculous.
such a weird
But
answer.
the reason why is because their loyalty to they loved Joe so much that they would go to great lengths to protect that.
But you want cockroaches around?
Singing,
Listen,
dancing cockroaches.
listen. When I lived in Malawi, there were lots of cockroaches, and I don't think I need to go back and do that.
Oh, yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
almost brought one back from Uganda by accident. It was
Like in your shorts or something?
well, it was in my backpack, and I had a big book. So when it fell out of my backpack, I just dropped my big book on it and squashed it.
Nice.
Sorry, Joe's apartment cockroaches.
Yeah, so you're not
Not
loyal to
personal.
them; they're just loyal to you.
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
All right, I've got my answer, and I've kind of narrowed it down to two, and you'll see why they connect in a second. But I'm going to go with either Mushu from the Mulan movie.
Okay.
Riley would be
Dishonor
very
on
proud
you,
of you.
dishonor on your cow, or Donkey from Shrek, because he's
So-
also pretty long.
wait,
I just
aren't
want
they-
Eddie Murphy as
Yeah, I was
my
gonna say, aren't they both voice?
my friend, animal talking
There you
friend.
go.
He also played Dr. Doolittle, who talks to animals.
There you
as
go.
well, right? So there's like
He's the whole package when
yeah,
it comes to talking
that's it.
animals.
He is talking animals, and he talks to animals, and
Yes,
Eddie Murphy,
and
what
he's
a guy.
funny. So
Yeah, there you go.
I'd have an entertaining little dragon or donkey on my
Right.
side.
I feel like those choices show so much about our characters.
You want Jesus, and we're idiots.
No, Fletcher wants funny, and you want dirty things that you can squash.
Dirty he doesn't want to squash the anyway.
Not Alf.
We've rambled on about
Yeah,
this
Oh
has
my
been
gosh.
the longest
If
question.
you have a better answer than Jay, let us
which
know.
you probably do. Yeah, story at bfmc.org or at the Story Fulfilled
podcast on Instagram.
I always
yeah.
forget.
It's no the. Just at Story
At
If you
Story
Fulfilled
Fulfilled
search
Podcast.
Podcast.
Story Fulfilled Podcast, I think it'll be there.
You'll find it.
Cool.
So let us know. Let us know. And of course, as always, we do encourage you to read the stories for yourself to get the whole picture of what is going on. And today's story takes place in the book of Numbers.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Yeah.
9, 10, 11, 12,
And we
13, 14.
talked about this before we started recording. This is only the third episode we have in the Book of Numbers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of books we haven't done, but Numbers is a rare one in the ones that we have done.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Yeah. It's a number. And here's the thing. Numbers is a book that a lot of people just don't read.
Which is weird because there's some really great stories in it.
Like
Yeah.
today's.
Yeah.
I think
Interesting enough.
the issue getting to Numbers requires getting through Leviticus
Jesus,
when you do like the
Exodus,
Bible in a year, and
Yeah.
a lot of people give up there.
That's true.
And so today's story is maybe an encouragement to get through the book of
Yeah.
Leviticus and to get through Numbers. So it's traditionally, as we've mentioned, written by Moses. And since last week, Moses has led the Israelites out of Egypt and brought them into the wilderness, where God gave Moses and the people the law on Mount Sinai. And the book of Numbers is the story of them leaving Sinai and going to Canaan, which was supposed to be like a 3-day journey.
Yeah, I
or
think it was
something
like 2 weeks
Yeah.
on foot.
Yeah,
Total journey.
and
They were a little slow.
we see that it took them 40 years.
Interesting.
Little bit of wandering that took place. And Canaan, of course, is the land that was promised to Abraham and his descendants by God. And so, in order to figure out whether, to
Scope out
the land,
yeah.
they send in spies to Canaan to see what the land is like, and the spies return, and 10 of them, well, all of them said that the land was very fertile, but 10 of them said that they would never be able to conquer it because there's like the people and like they're just too strong, and yeah, but they carried back like bushels of grapes on their shoulders. That's how fertile the land was, but they were afraid of the people that were there, and so because the people didn't trust God to help them, God sent them back into the wilderness, and so that the next generation would be who it was that entered into the promised land. And since then, we also see that Moses has also disobeyed God, and he's not allowed to enter the promised land. And so the Israelites travel, and they travel towards Moab, and they have to fight a few battles along the way there, and they win those because of God's favor. And so they're fighting with the Amorites before they eventually settle in the plains of Moab, which is where our story today starts.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like we've said, it takes place right after the Exodus. They've left Israel, and now they're wandering in the wilderness. And they're traveling towards Canaan, and this is surrounded by small little kingdoms at the time all throughout Canaan. We hear of them when we see lists of who's living there. There's the Edomites, the Philistines, the Amorites, the Moabites. There's a whole bunch of different little kingdoms and cities that are surrounding Canaan. And then as for the date of today's story, it depends again when you date the Exodus in history. But if you take the early date, then today's story takes place around 1400 BC, just before the conquest of Canaan by Joshua and the Israelites.
Yep.
We know that the Israelites camped at a place called Abel Shittim across the Jordan River from Jericho, which we also know is in modern-day Jordan. We've talked about that before. So Balaam came...
The Jericho, the famous Jericho that I think we've talked about.
The Battle of Jericho.
There you go. Abby has a song for every story that we talked about.
I'm a church kid. Balaam came from a place called Pethor, which was along the Euphrates River. So we're not 100% sure where this actually was, but it was probably in modern-day Syria/Turkey area. And then Balak was the Moabite king, and Moab is located east of the Dead Sea, which is also in modern-day Jordan. So lots of Jordan area.
Yeah. It's on that Jordan River.
Yeah.
In fact, anyway, so yeah, like we said, Israel is just settled. They're in the wilderness. They haven't conquered anything, so they're just kind of wandering around in the wilderness. And they settled temporarily in Moab after defeating these two other kings. There was the Ammonites and another king called like Ig or something like that. Right. Anyway, and it was like a crushing victory for Israel. And they've now settled in Moab. And this guy named Balak, who is the Moabite king, sees how big Israel has become. They've repopulated. They've grown huge and powerful. And he's like, oh no, Moab's next, and they're going to take over Israel.
Right.
Sorry, take over Moab. His land. So he decides, I'm going to try and hire this famous, is it pronounced diviner? Diviner. Anyway, this fortune teller, this curse bringer, this magician kind of thing. And his name is Balaam. And they're like, okay, we're going to hire him. Maybe he can put a curse on Israel, and then it'll make it easier for us to defeat them in battle.
What a job, eh?
Yeah. And he's this world famous curse giver that they're going to go hire.
Oh my. I feel like you could have a lot of enemies.
Yeah.
If you're just putting curses on people.
Yeah. Curse giver. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, we'll see. He makes a little bit of an enemy right now. But yeah, so Balak sends, his elders from Moab to Pethor, where Balaam lives. And he sends money and gifts and all the things that, you'd require to kind of entice the curse giver, entice Balaam to come with them to give curses to Israel. So Balaam, welcomes them and says, okay, hello, what do you need? I'm Balaam. I'm this curse man. And he says,
come on in.
We need you to curse this group of people, Israel. They've settled in our land. We're never going to defeat them in battle. And we need you to come curse them. And he goes, well, stay overnight. I'll talk to God, and I'll let you know what he says. Mm-hmm. So they stay overnight, and then the night he goes to bed and hears from God. And God says, don't curse these people. They're a blessed people. And if we look back to a couple weeks ago, we talked about this, and we've talked about it the whole time. Abraham's blessed by God, and his people are blessed by God.
Bless
and
those who bless you, and
curse those who curse you. That's the famous line, right? That has been given to Abraham and his people. And so Balaam gets up the next morning. He's like, I can't go with you. These are blessed people. God has told me no, and I can't really do anything outside of his authority, is what he says. Yep. So the Moabites go back to Moab, go back to the king, and the king's like, okay, here we go. I'm gonna try and entice. So they offer him Balaam once again lots of money, carte blanche, and he's like, look, I can only do what God tells me. Let me ask again. So we go to bed, and God once again says, listen, I don't want you to go, but if they make you go, you can go. So then Balaam gets up in the morning and goes, okay, let's go back to Moab.
Let's do it.
So they're on the road. Balaam's riding his favorite pet donkey, and in front of everybody, his donkey all of a sudden turns off the road and starts running into the dirt. And Balaam starts beating his donkey and gets him back on the path. And it turns out the donkey had actually seen an angel of the Lord, it says.
With a flaming sword.
With a sword wielding.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
So Balaam didn't see this. The donkey saw it.
Yeah.
And beats his donkey, get back on the road, and they start walking again. A second time, the donkey sees this angel wielding this sword in the path, and it was this narrow part that had a wall on either side. And the donkey had nowhere to go, so he kind of jammed into the wall, and Balaam ends up like stubbing his foot on the wall in front of everybody, and he beats the donkey again.
Yep.
Get back on the path. Get back on the path. And that happens a third time.
Yep.
Of course, there's always a third time in this story. Yep. And this time, the donkey has nowhere to go. He sees this angel with a sword ready to kill something, and he just sits down.
Right.
And Balaam starts wailing on the donkey again and beating it. What the heck is going on here?
Yeah.
And then it says that the donkey's mouth was opened by God, and it says, "Why are you beating me?
Yeah.
Why have you beaten me these 3 times?"
Yeah.
And Balaam's, just responds to him because this is a normal thing.
That's the thing. I love that. Yeah.
He just responds. He doesn't go, "Why are you talking?"
Yeah. Why are you talking?
He goes, "You embarrassed me in front of all my friends. You're
Yeah.
embarrassing me. I would kill you if I had a sword." And the donkey goes, what does the donkey say? No, not even. The donkey doesn't even get a chance to respond. God just opens Balaam's eyes, and then he sees this angel in front of him.
Right. Oh, no,
And
but
he
the donkey does ask,
Okay.
haven't I been...
Right. Haven't I been your loyal subject? Haven't
Yeah.
I carried you all this way, all these years together?
Yeah.
And then before Balaam responds, God opens his eyes, and he sees this angel with the sword, and Balaam's like, oh no.
Oops.
Bows down and repents and bows before this angel. And the angel is basically like, "Look, if it wasn't for the sake of your donkey, I would have killed you." And so, Balaam is now, "Oh crap, I see this angel. I'm in trouble."
Right.
And so the angel tells Balaam, Balaam goes, "Listen, I'll turn around. I'll do whatever you want. I'll turn around. I'll go back." And the angel says, "No, keep going. But again, don't do anything that I don't tell you to say."
Right.
So God is like, "Listen, you're going to do what I tell you to do, nothing else ever." And Balaam's like, "Okay." So he continues. They get to Moab, and Balak's like, "Okay, what took you so long? Like, I'm ready. You need to curse these Israelites. Here we go." And I got all this riches for you as well. I got you
Cash rules everything around.
Cash money. And Balaam's like, I want to temper your expectations here. I can only say what God tells me to say. So fair warning, it's not on me.
Yeah.
And Balak's like, whatever. So he brings him up on this hill. There's like 4 different locations they bring. Anyway, and he goes, "Listen, what do you need? Let's get this curse done." Balaam's like, "Okay, I need sacrifices. I need an altar." And they sacrifice bulls, and it's like 7 of them. And then Balaam talks to God and says, "What do you have to say?" And we're going to actually pull it up. We're going to read the first of Balaam's oracles, they're called, and that's found in Numbers chapter 24. And I'll read the first one. I'll get Jay to read 23, right. So this is what the message Balaam delivered. "Balak summoned me to come from Aram. The king of Moab brought me from the eastern hills. 'Come,' he said, 'curse Jacob for me. Come and announce Israel's doom. But how can I curse those whom God has not cursed? How can I condemn those whom the Lord has not condemned? I see them from the cliff tops. I watch them from the hills. I see a people who live by themselves, set apart from other nations. Who can count Jacob's descendants as numerous as dust? Who can count even 1/4 of Israel's people? Let me die like the righteous. Let my life end like theirs."
Wowzers.
Oof. And so obviously Balak is like, "Well, that's not what I asked. I'm paying for a curse. I'm giving you whatever you want for this curse on Israel." And he's just saying, look at how numerous they are, this great people that God has blessed and not cursed. How can I curse them?
Right.
And so Balak's like, we're gonna try again. Brings them onto another mountain and says, "Look upon these people. They perform all these sacrifices once again." And this time, here's the curse, so-called, that Balaam produces.
It says, "Then he took up his discourse and said, 'Arise, O Balak, and hear. Give ear to me, O son of Zippor. God is not a man that he should lie, nor son of man that he should repent. Has he said, and will he not do it? Or has he spoken, and will he not make it good? Behold, I have received a command to bless. When he has blessed, then I cannot revoke it. He has not observed misfortune in Jacob, nor has he seen trouble in Israel. The Lord his God is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. God brings them out of Egypt. He is for them like the horns of the wild ox. For there is no omen against Jacob, nor is there any divination against Israel. At the proper time it shall be said to Jacob and to Israel what God has done. Behold, a people rises like a lioness, and as a lion it lifts itself. It will not lie down until it devours the prey and drinks the blood of the slain.
Again,
Oops.
here, curse Israel for me so we can beat them in battle. And then Balaam comes out with, they're going to be like lions devouring prey.
Yeah.
No curse can touch them. No magic has any power against them. What wonders God has done for them. And basically, this happens 2 more times. So four oracles in total that Balaam receives from God and passes on to Balak. And every single one of them, he's saying, Israel is blessed. Israel is of God. They're going to become this powerful nation.
Yeah.
And basically pronounces doom on their enemies. They're going to be devoured by a lion that is Israel. And so that's the end of today's story. And it's just Balaam, instead of cursing Israel, he produces these crazy blessings and prophetic messages from God to the enemy king of Israel.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what makes him an unlikely person then? Because it sounds like he was actually pretty popular and like.
Well,
he was
absolutely.
pretty well known.
And that's the cool thing is he is this well-known, popular curse giver, diviner, sorcerer kind of thing, but from a foreign nation. He's not of the people of God. He's not an Israeli. He's not of Abraham.
Right.
And so the fact that we get this foreigner coming and saying, look, this is God's chosen people, this is God's blessed people, is really interesting. You don't see that very often, that somebody from somewhere else is going and proclaiming that your God is the right one, not whoever his was.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's interesting too. Like Balak sees Israel and recognizes their strength and recognizes that it's not coming from themselves, that it's divine, that it comes from a source much more powerful than they are, and that's what leads him to seek out Balak. I was sharing with you earlier that in some of my kind of reading around Balak, some of the Jewish tradition suggests that Balaam was actually the evil equivalent of Moses, right? Like he was that powerful of a prophet,
and that
in his
famous
time,
in his area,
in
right?
his, and that famous in his area. And so Balak was like, what's the next best thing to God, basically, to come against these people? And obviously, there's nothing that even compares with the power of God. And he learns that kind of the hard way.
And yeah, when we're telling the story of unlikely people, I guess we're cheating the rules a little bit. Unlikely animal in this situation. Balaam isn't the only unlikely character in this story, right? We have this donkey who's just an animal.
Yeah.
And basically God gives us this ability to speak and call out Balaam for what he did. And that is more unlikely than anything I can think of.
Right.
Than a donkey yelling at me and cursing me out because I disobeyed God.
Yeah.
In the unlikeliness scale, yeah, I think that ranks pretty high.
Do you think the donkey had Ed Murphy's voice?
I hope so. What are you doing beating me?
Yeah.
I can't do an Eddie Murphy
That
voice.
was nowhere.
That wasn't very good, Fletcher.
near.
Sorry.
I'm making waffles. This is a question that I have had and that I had to look into, and I'm sure a lot of people are wondering. God gave Balaam permission to go, and then the next verse, it says, and then God was mad at Balaam for going and sent this angel to kill him. So the question is, did God change his mind? Is he a hypocrite? What the heck's going on there?
Yeah.
And so what you have to do is read the verses carefully. It's in Numbers 22 to 24. That's where the story takes place.
Right.
And God says in Balaam's second time asking him, he goes, listen, Balaam, you're allowed to go if they get up and make you go, or basically ask you to go, come with them. You're allowed to go. Don't say no. And then immediately Balaam, gets up and then packs his stuff and is out the doors immediately. So there's some sort of eagerness that Balaam was ready to go and didn't even need to be asked to go a second time. He wanted the money, probably. He wanted some sort of riches, and got up immediately and just went instead of waiting to see if they would ask again or waiting to see if they made him go.
Right.
So that's why we think anyway that Balaam was in trouble with God, is because he was told what to do and he kind of, I have an excuse now, I can go do it.
Yeah, and that almighty dollar was just kind of dangling in front of him.
Exactly.
Like, I'm gonna get me some money.
The carte blanche.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So, how does this story of Balaam and Balak and the donkey lead to the fulfilling of the rest of the story of God throughout the Bible?
Yeah, I think tying into what you just shared there, we see in Balaam's response to what is going on, we see a kind of a revelation of his motivation for doing what he has done. And I think in this we see an important lesson about God and our hearts, and God sees the motivation of our hearts, and God in this instance sees the motivation of Balaam's heart as well, and wants to reveal that to him in this encounter that he has with the donkey, with the angel, and with everything that's going on. And we see a little bit of a repentance in him, in that he finally says, okay, I got to come clean. I can only say what God says. Like, I can't just do what you ask of me. And I think if he didn't have this encounter, he would have just set out, and he would have gone, and he would have tried to, and unsuccessfully, but he would have tried to curse Israel. But yeah, he just would have done it because it's all about the money. But God has revealed to him something about his own heart here in the situation that makes him say, okay, I need to do things a little bit differently. Now, if you read further on in the story, you see
it doesn't end
up that way.
He still tries
sides
to
with
fulfill
Balak.
his job and
he
paid.
dies in battle with Balak, and doesn't go so well. But in this instance, we do see that God recognizes the motivations of our heart, and he wants us to come to a recognition of those motivations as well. And sometimes we're going to be in unexplainable circumstances with things that just don't make sense, and instead of beating the donkey, we need to ask, why is this happening, and have a look around and have a look within, I think.
Yeah, speaking of the whole donkey situation, why would he use a donkey to prove his point? And I think what we kind of figure out is that, look, Balaam was this famous guy. He's like, I can pronounce curses. I'm a powerful diviner. And then God basically goes, look, this donkey sees more than you do.
Right.
I'm the source of your power. I'm the one that is giving you authority to do this, not on your own strength. So he goes, listen, this donkey sees more than you, and only through my strength can you see this angel in front of you. And he kind of makes it really obvious. Look, this donkey is doing your job better than you are at this point, so smarten up.
Yeah.
As for the blessing, it kind of just shows how far God is willing to go to keep his promises with Abraham.
Right.
And so you think, okay, what does some random king in Moab hiring this curse man to come deliver? God, even through this little cursor, Balaam, is keeping good on his promise. He's not straying even a word from what he has promised Israel. Right. And Balaam even shows that, and shows it to his enemies, that God is protecting Israel.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Well, that concludes today's episode. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.
Bye for now.